Hey YouTube, Thursday morning. I don't know the date, but it doesn't matter. But anyway, I've been trying to get to doing some sawing, but I had some trouble with my backhoe. I want to explain this to you in case. I know there's a couple guys out there who have these. If you see, let me just see if I can get the camera steady here. There's a cylinder, a hydraulic cylinder inside here, and there's also one on the opposite side, looks just like that. Now, this chain attaches to the hydraulic cylinder, comes around, and in the middle of that heavy member there's a pin that comes up from the bottom and goes through the center of the chain, so that when you turn the machine from side to side, okay, that's what, you know, holds the boom in place with the cylinders. The problem with these cylinders is they don't work hydraulically like each one does. Like say the cylinder for this stabilizer, there's a pressure valve, or there's a pressure line that pushes the cylinder down, there's a pressure line that pushes the cylinder out. You don't have that on these two cylinders. These two cylinders work in unison. So what happens is there's only a feed to push the cylinder actually backwards. But the cylinder is in the back. Each cylinder has a hose that's like a bleeder that runs from one to the other. So when you turn the control lever that's up in here to make the boom turn, like let's say towards me, what happens is this cylinder reacts and wants to pull in, and the other one is pulled out by this one, by the oil that goes from one side to the other. It doesn't really have power, you know, and that's why this swing on these Fords is a little weak compared to some machines. And usually the swing on a machine is weak anyway. I don't know why they've never really made them what they ought to be, but on these smaller backhoes. But anyway, here's the thing. I had a really hard time when I pulled the pin out of the middle. What happened is it broke, and it was just barely hanging on. So I had to pull the pin out of the middle, and that separated the chain. Well, in order to put that back together, it's kind of tough because you have to move the machine. You have to have both chains exactly in order, or move the boom and then have both chains in the same position. And what's hard about that is that you can't really see it. So what I did was I disconnected this right here. Let me zoom in there. You can see that pin that's right there. There's a pin there. So I took that out, and what that did was allow me to work with the chain independently. So then I put the pin back in. It comes up through underneath these hoses that are in here, and then I put a cotter key in it, or an R-clip, and that holds the pin in place. So the pin doesn't take a whole lot of wear or use. Of course, you know, when you're digging, you're going side to side, but even with that, the pin really doesn't turn. All it is it's used as a point of pulling, so that the boom swings. But here's my point. Once you disconnect the chain here, okay, and you pull on one of the levers to make it go forward, you know, sideways, right or left, what happens is the cylinder automatically pulls in on this, like say this side. If you no matter what you do on the other side, this cylinder wants to pull in, because as soon as you act the other cylinder out, as soon as you activate it, you're either pushing oil into the front of this, or you're pulling oil out of the back of it. That's what happens with these cylinders. So the problem with that is that it moves the cylinder and, you know, the piston ram away from the chain. So yesterday I was having a hard time with this, and I couldn't get the chain, no matter what I did with the boom. You know, you'd think you could swing the boom, but it doesn't really swing that easily, to get it to go back far enough to reach the piston. I'm talking about the chain now. I couldn't get it to reach the piston. So what happened then was I put a come along on the bucket tooth. Okay, the bucket was rolled down. Let me just back up here. Yeah, I had the bucket rolled down, so the tooth was down here somewhere, and I put a come-along on there and took the come-along over to the piston ram. In the back, underneath this thing, there's a hose, like I said, that goes from one piston to the other that just pushes oil back and forth. It's not under pressure, it's just kind of like a gravity-fed thing. So I took one of those lines off to relieve the reason I took the line off was so that when the fluid would go out of this piston or into this piston, it wouldn't react with the other piston. Now, it still doesn't work really easy. Like, you can't just grab that piston and pull it out. So here's what I found out with this thing. When I had to come along hooked to the bucket and then hooked to this piston, if you activate the control for the swing just a little bit, just enough to let oil move, you can actually push out on the crowd lever, which pushes this out and pulls the piston out of there for you. And that's what got it to the point where I could be able to put the chain back together. So this is all working and everything. It's just that if you don't know that, how to do that, you just pull on the swing lever very slightly, just enough to be able to make oil move in the cylinder, and then you can pull this cylinder out. If you give it too much, what happens is it makes the cylinder worse. It actually, the one on one side pulls the other one in the opposite direction. So you sort of got to be careful with it. There's nothing in the manual I have about the backhoe. The manual talks all about the whole tractor, but it doesn't talk about the backhoe actually, except for the specifications of it. So that's something that I've actually worked on that for 3 days, because first of all I had to take it apart. Then I had to order the pin. Then I had to wait for the pin. The pin wasn't what it should have been, so I had to machine it. So then I machined the pin, and made the pin be what it should be. Put it back in there, and then I had problems with getting the chain together. So hopefully here in the next couple of days, because we're supposed to have rain, and I have to go somewhere this morning. But anyway, hopefully I'll be able to start getting some wood on the sawmill here and start to do some cutting. But anyway, that's what I've been doing with that, as well as, like I had said, the tire was flat on this thing. And then I had problems fixing the tires on my wife's car. I ordered a set of tires. I bought them from Walmart. Walmart sent me the wrong size. So now I have to take them back, and I'm going to get another set on Friday. So, it's one thing after the other. Alright guys, so that's it for what I was doing here so far the past couple days.